It's absolutely apptacular. The Subject Cinema Android app. Everything you need to be a rabid Subject Cinema fan. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, and Front Row 5 and 10. All right at your fingertips and available instantly. Plus, email and voicemail links, Facebook and Twitter hookups, Patreon support specials, and more is coming real soon. Don't just listen, app it. The all-in-one Subject Cinema podcast app. Android version available now at Google Play or on PNRNetwork websites. Amazon and iPhone apps coming soon. Don't delay. Download today.
Blueberry. This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
On air, online, on now. From the hub of the universe, Boston, Massachusetts, USA, this is Subject Cinema, with your hosts, T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
It's time for another week of Subject Cinema with the loonies that host this show. I'm TC Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
And
actually, we're the Looney Toonies because I'm the loony and you're more into music, so you're the Toonies.
Okay.
Don't sue us, Warner Brothers.
Subject Cinema number 616. Don't mind my cough. It's gotten worse. I will try to cut it out where I can. This week, we lost one of our greatest people in the comic industry, and we're going to spend today reminiscing about the great Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Stan passed away on Veterans Day, if I'm not mistaken, last week, and it was, the man lived a long, happy life, assumably. He was 95 years old, and was a big, larger-than-life person to most comic fans. Over also to movie fans, since he had a cameo in like a lot of the Marvel movies. Not all of them, but
not
a lot
all
of them,
but a lot of them.
And so we're going to take this first segment here to talk about that and to talk about his legacy.
Yeah.
He was an original. He started back in the 1940s, right, with Timely Comics and went forward from there?
Yes, he did. It was one of those kind of things where I was, we were home on Veterans Day. We were just kind of bouncing around, talking and looking at things online and stuff like that, and I happened to flip over to Twitter and I saw all this stuff about Stan Lee, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I went and checked and then found this news article from I think it was a Hollywood Reporter, that, Stan Lee had passed away, and I was so upset for a minute I couldn't talk. It was just kind of this, sometimes I get that way. I get so upset I can't verbalize. And
those are much better than the moments when she gets so upset and she just starts losing it. Which also happens every now and then.
Like when?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but it has happened.
I mean, okay. All right.
Steve Irwin.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Fine. But it was just one of those moments where you just felt so overwhelmingly sad. And you're right. I mean, he lived to be 95 years old. That is an incredible amount of time to exist on this planet. If you're a human being, when you think about the fact that human beings in the space, in a cosmic sense, we're only here for a very brief amount of time. It's what you do with that time that is important. And Stan Lee, during his time on this planet, gave so many people so much and gave them one thing that no politician can give, no businessman can give, nothing like that. He gave people imagination. He gave people the doorway into opening that part of themselves, that imagination. And I think that's such an amazing gift to give people. And it wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy. I mean, Marvel Comics, the company that he, was involved with for the most part, it started with, like you mentioned, Timely Comics, and they had their ups and downs and, bankruptcies and problems and all that throughout the years. It's really kind of strange when you think about, for a while, whenever anybody talked about comics, people automatically were talking about DC all the time, and Marvel Comics was like, oh yeah, they're there, but do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They were just like, it was like Marvel was like in the back of DC, like in DC's rearview mirror. But whenever you talked about Marvel Comics, you always had to talk about Stan Lee, because he was the face of Marvel Comics. He was the voice of Marvel Comics. And I know to a lot of people, and they're right about it, there are other people that are just as important to comics, people like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, Don Heck, John Romita Sr., people like that.
Julie Schwartz.
Julie Schwartz, yeah. But for me, whenever anybody mentions Marvel Comics, Stan Lee's always the first person I think of, point blank, and that's it. His work with Marvel Comics, you have to understand that when Marvel Comics started doing some of the stuff that they did back in the 40s, especially with a comic property like Captain America, people don't understand. People now, I don't think, understand. That was actually dangerous to do back then. And I know some people are probably going,
dangerous how?
Well, they got threats. They got constant threats at the time. When they were, like the whole, everyone's seen the iconic first edition of Captain America where Cap's punching Adolf Hitler in the face and all that stuff like that. People don't understand, and the history books don't tell you stuff like this. But at the time in America, there were people who were looking at what Hitler was doing. At best, you had some people who were like, well, he's over there, we don't have to worry about it. You had this whole culture of isolationism with some people. At worst, you had people looking at what Hitler was doing and going, that's not a bad idea.
There were active Nazi units here in America, in New York, and especially on Long Island, back in the 1930s, before Hitler became the monster, or became known to be the monster that he was. So.
Right. But that's my point. They got death threats. They had people outside their offices. They had people threatening people that worked there because you're writing a comic book. That shows you how scared those people were by the idea that somebody would stand up and go.
Well, they knew that kids were the market. Hitler knew that too. That's why the Hitler Youth existed.
Yeah. They were scared of the idea that not an army of people, one person, one soldier that stands up and says, no, I'm not letting this happen. This is wrong, and I'm going to fix it. Because that message resonates. And the people at Marvel and people like Stan, they knew that. And they knew that when you think about it, nobody wants to talk about the fact that there are people like that, unfortunately, still in this country. There are people that have these horrible, poisonous...
we don't want to get into politics here.
So. No, I'm just saying they have these horrible, poisonous, hateful ideas. And people don't know or are shocked to find out that there were people like that back then. And they were willing to threaten...
Well, they've existed throughout time, and they will continue to exist throughout time. There's no getting rid of it.
No.
Because you cannot be good without evil, and that's exactly what that whole cycle is when it comes to that way of thinking.
That's true. No, that is true. So it's the whole idea that without chaos, how do you know what law is, or order is, or however you word it. But my point is, these guys were and these were not people just being like, oh, I'm going to kill you, and they're sending, threatening letters in crayon, where they're people that you're not worried about.
That's because Jen wasn't around by that point.
Hi, Jen. But these were people that were serious, that they wanted to hurt people drawing comic books. And people like Stan were like, we're going to keep drawing them, and we're going to make it more in your face, up yours, screw you. We don't care. And I love the fact that Marvel Comics, and Stan especially, typified the whole idea. Now, don't get me wrong, all you DC people out there, I love DC Comics. I love DC comic heroes. Don't yell at me. Marvel heroes, even people who have skeletons made out of adamantium and so on and so forth, they feel more real. There, I said it.
Well, they always did. DC came into that late in the 1980s. But DCs were always larger than life, more fantasy than anything.
Right.
Up to that point. After Crisis, they got fall angsty like Marvel did. So it's why I can't stand post-Crisis stuff most of the time.
Right.
Because I am thoroughly a big Silver Age comic book fan. Today's comic books just leave me flat. Sorry, Anthony. Anyway.
When you look at the things that, that Stan did as, work as part of Marvel Comics, like I mentioned, working with Jack Kirby, working with Steve Ditko, working with other people so that I don't have a bunch of people screeching at me.
Yeah.
The characters that he helped to create, characters like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, the X-Men. These are all
Fantastic Four.
The Fantastic Four, the Avengers, these are all amazing characters, but they're also not perfect characters. They all have issues. Like, take a character like Spider-Man. You have Spider-Man, this kid that's got all these amazing gifts and all this stuff like that, but he's not a billionaire and can't, build a bunch of wonderful toys to get him out of situations, Batman. But,
and Iron Man.
Iron Man. But Iron Man, there's another example. This is a guy that is wicked smart, does have the money to build all this stuff like that, and at one point had crippling alcoholism issues and has more daddy issues than me.
Yeah.
And that I didn't think was humanly possible.
Lee gave the comic world the injection of angst that helped revive everything. Mm-hmm. The realities of different situations.
To the point where that's actually a term, at least we use in this house. We have an angst scale. At least I do.
Right.
There's
Marvel is usually at the top when it comes to Spider-Man and the X-Men.
There's soap opera angst, there's supernatural angst, and then there's Marvel angst, and that's like brushing the ceiling.
But it's interesting because in doing that is what made them real. Mm-hmm. And that's why they succeeded. Marvel and DC have always had a fierce rivalry. And for much of that rivalry, Stan has been at the top of the Marvel food chain. He started as a copy boy way back in 1929 and would eventually work his way up to editor at age 19 and publisher in 1973. He was an amazing guy, but if it wasn't for his collaborations with Jack Kirby and others, that the comic industry was on its last legs. Mm-hmm. I mean, it really was in the 1950s with all these Senate subcommittees and House subcommittees declaring, all these things are unhealthy for our American lifestyle and unhealthy.
Seduction of the innocent. Yeah. Pardon me, I have to go throw up.
Which is how the Comics Code Authority came into play.
Which is something else that Stan was in open defiance of the Comics Code.
Yeah, later.
Well, you have to make a living, but you have to toe the line at some point. But when he felt like a comic needed to tell a specific story, he was more than willing to be like, okay, we're going to publish it anyway.
Yeah.
Specifically dealing with sorry to interrupt. Specifically dealing with one storyline in the Spider-Man mythos with Harry Osborn and his, for a while, battle with pill addiction.
Right.
And the Comics Code was all like, oh, no, we can't do that. And Stan was like, yeah, we can. And we're gonna. So they did.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. She's
getting way ahead of me here.
Sorry.
In 1959, Julius Schwartz, affectionately known as Julie to comic book fans, reintroduced the superhero comic stars to the DC universe, starting with The Flash, and then later with Justice League of America. Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman had never been away. But
no.
The rest of them were.
The comics industry was leaning more toward war comics at the time and romance and comics comedy. And stuff like that.
Comic stuff. Mm-hmm. It became Stan's and Jack's standing order to match DC's success with the new superhero genre. Mm-hmm. Superheroes had faded out after World War II, and so they created the Fantastic Four, based on Challengers of the Unknown, which was a DC property that Jack had done before. And it was an enormous hit. Yep. It led to the creation of all the characters we mentioned at the beginning. Particularly, I think the most successful Marvel character of all, which is Spider-Man. Yeah. And then also they would revive characters from the timely days, including Submariner, Captain America, and a new version of Daredevil. Yep. Not the same one that was done in the 40s. And it was a boon. It brought the comic industry back to solvency for a while, both it and DC, to the point where other comics were trying superheroes, including Dell, which tried this ridiculous, that last 2 issues, called Superheroes. That was it. Yeah. And then Gold Key did it, and a few others did it, but nobody did it like Marvel and DC. Mm-hmm.
Now, TC mentioned a few minutes ago talking about Marvel and DC and their rivalry and such. And it's a rivalry, yeah. I don't know if it's a rivalry on the same level as, the whole Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees.
Oh, it's worse.
Thing. Oh, it's worse. You think so?
Oh, yeah, it's worse.
Okay, well, that's okay.
Just look at the critics every time a DC movie comes out. They come out of the woodwork.
Well, okay. Yeah, but those are people that are, zealots. Fringe. Zealots, and we won't go into that. But
I've enjoyed the DC movies, but they could definitely use some help.
Well, yeah.
Marvel's doing it right.
Marvel's definitely doing it right.
Although, Marvel has hit a snag along the way, in my eyes, with the 2 Guardians of the Galaxies movies and Civil War. Wasn't a fan of any of them, so that's me. I realize I'm alone in that. Everybody likes stupid-ass Star-Lord. I can't stand that character, and so it ruins those movies for me. So,
Dear Chris Pratt, whatever money you owe TC...
I like Chris Pratt. I loved him in Jurassic World.
I know.
I have no problem with Chris Pratt. It's that damn character I don't like.
Yeah, so, you've made that abundantly clear. But I bring up the whole DC thing, and you have that right. You totally have that right.
I'm a DC guy by nature, though.
But the thing that a lot of people might not realize, especially people who are new to Marvel Comics because of the movies that have gone back and looked into things, that for a while, actually, Stan got his hands on some Marvel some DC properties, and worked with DC Comics during the early part of the noughties by launching a limited series of books called Just Imagine, in which Stan put his own unique spin on the origin stories on DC's Holy Trinity, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, but also other characters like the Flash, I don't know which Flash, don't ask me, and Green Lantern, also don't know which Green Lantern, don't ask me. I
think it was the Kyle Rayner and Guy Gardner versions, but I'm not sure. Or I'd have to look it up.
Whichever of the 95 versions of the Flash there have been. He also worked with, which I think is really... See, the thing I loved about Stan was the fact that he was so willing to be like, okay, that sounds weird and strange, but we'll definitely give it a try just to see what'll happen. When they worked on a manga project that was basically taking, it was working with several big, manga, people in the manga industry, including Viz Media, Hiroki Takei, and other people like that, where they took Marvel superheroes and put a Japanese manga spin on their stories, people like the Punisher and other characters like that. And, I gotta be honest, those are not for everybody. I will be the first to admit they're not for everybody. But that was the other thing about Stan that I thought was so cool, was the fact that he would do stuff and he would okay stuff that he probably knew in his head that not everybody was going to be on board with.
Japanese Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah, there's
Which
that.
he was directly responsible for.
Well, he
created it.
Did he create that?
He helped create it,
Did
yes.
he? Okay. We actually talked about the Japanese version of Spider-Man back in one of our Hero Heat shows.
Yeah, that was way back in the first or second year we were doing the show. You can find it on our archives somewhere.
If you have never seen even a snippet of Japanese Spider-Man, you don't know what you're missing.
The sad thing is he also, that same year, if I'm not mistaken, okayed The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
With Nicholas Hammond. I'm like, God. 0 for 2, Stan. You want to try for...
Well, the thing... Yeah, hey, whoa, hold on, wait a minute. While The Amazing Spider-Man wasn't very good, it was terrible.
Here we go. With Marvel TV shows, Hulk was great.
Yes, it was.
I wasn't a big fan, but I recognized it was a great show. The other ones they tried to do, Doctor Strange only got as far as a TV movie, which I have some friends that really liked that. They thought it was fairly faithful.
It was fairly faithful. It was just bad. It was just...
There was the Spider-Man series, and there was the short-lived 4-week Captain America series, which was actually made up of 2 parts each of the 2 TV movies they had done with Red Brown. And it was like, oh my God.
And I liked those. All right, I just like.
I just
liked looking at Red Brown.
I didn't watch Incredible Hulk that often, but I did enjoy those. They went fine with my Wonder Woman fix. Getting to ogle Linda Carter every week, and so that was fine. I was a teenager. What do you expect?
You had needs.
Yes.
Is it nice to be able to use that phrase every once in a while?
It pales in comparison to the real good stuff that has been done since
definitely
the 2000s.
Definitely. But see, that's where I was going. The fact that Stan was a risk taker. I mean, he knew what audiences liked. He knew what drew people in, and he would do stuff like that. But he would also be like, okay, well, this is a little bit out there, but people might like it, so let's give it a try. And I liked that aspect of him as a person and as a member of Marvel Comics, family. It's really weird because it's a very strange thing when you feel a tie to someone that you've never met. And to me, Stan is always that cool uncle. He was that cool uncle that you saw at family gatherings who would tell the coolest stories and didn't talk down to you like a little kid. Like you were a little kid, he talked to you on a peer level, and that was really cool. And the fact that he's gone now, it's just that's such a gap, that I don't think anybody's ever going to be able to fill, really. And I don't think they would want to. There's never going to be another Stan Lee, and that's really the way it should be.
One of the things that I really was kind of surprised about that was announced as part of his later stuff, as part of Stan Lee Media, was him teaming up with Backstreet Boys to create superhero versions of the pop group. I think this stemmed from Nick Carter's love of comics. I'm not sure, but the Backstreet Project only got through one issue before it went under because of the bankruptcy of the company, because one of the managers was doing a whole bunch of illegal stuff. And it's a shame because they had plans for a animated movie featuring the characters that the boys were going to do the music for and everything. And it might have helped them forestall the big slump they had for 4 years after Black and Blue came out in 2000 or 1999. And then they had a big slump that didn't really recover from until even just recently.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because the project was good. I did buy the comic. It was great. And it would have been fun to see it make a cartoon out of it. They would have had a lot of fun with it. And it's one of the weird things that Stan's been involved with over the years.
Yeah. Something else that he was definitely involved with was his philanthropic actions, which is something that he never really talked about. He just did them because, I mean, it is called the Stan Lee Foundation, but it wasn't something that he brought up every single interview or anything like that. It was just, there. The foundation was created in 2010, and the focus of it is the arts and education and literacy, which makes perfect sense because that's what, if you think about it, that's what for some kids, comics are the first things they read even before they start school, or they have them read to them by older siblings or their parents or whatever. For some kids, comics are the way they start learning about reading, which I think is, cool. You can't talk about Stan and not talk about the cameos that Stan Lee did. Not only cameos in the movies, but also in the comics themselves. He actually appeared as himself along with Jack Kirby in an issue of Fantastic Four that was issued in 1963, and they are playing cartoonists. They're drawn as cartoonists who are writing a comic book about the Fantastic Four, and that's so meta that it's just breaking constant walls. He also appeared in other comics, including The Amazing Spider-Man, Daredevil. He was actually the priest that married Luke Cage and Jessica Jones in New Avengers, which I think is awesome. I love that idea that you're drawn in.
Too bad they didn't get that far in the Netflix show before they canned Luke Cage.
I know.
But it might be coming back on Disney's streaming service. They're not sure yet. So, best known, I think, though, is he was in every single Marvel Universe picture, the official Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he's done some other ones too. In Iron Man, he gets credited for being Hugh Hefner. He's not really. Tony goes by him. Oh, hi, Hef. They did do an alternate version, according to Wikipedia, where he realized his mistake. But it was funny. Incredible Hulk. He's the gentleman, no lines on screen, that takes the drink of the tainted soda and collapses and leads to discovery of Bruce Banner being in Brazil. Iron Man 2. He's got Larry King-itis with the Larry King look, and again.
And Tony calls him Larry King.
Larry King. Thor, he's the truck driver trying to pull Mjolnir out of the ground. It
doesn't work out well for the truck.
No.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah. That's one of my favorites.
He's a general in Captain America, the First Avenger, who comments when Captain does not appear on stage. Some other guy comes out. He's like, I thought he'd be taller. He's in the Avengers on screen.
He's in the Avengers in a TV, in one of those little TV news blurbs, talking disparagingly about the idea of superheroes in New York.
He also did an unreleased scene that where he was, Steve Rogers was sorting with a waitress, and he said, "Ask for your number, you moron," which is good.
I wish they'd left that in. I really do.
Iron Man 3, he was a beauty pageant judge. In Thor: The Dark World, he's a mental ward patient who loans his shoe to Eric Selvig. In Winter Soldier, he's a guard at the Smithsonian Institution who discovers that the Captain America suit has been stolen. Oh, I am so fired. I love that line. Guardians of the Galaxy, he is playing an elderly gentleman having a conversation with a significantly younger woman as seen through Rocket's scanning device. Age of Ultron, he's a World War II veteran who attends the Avengers Victory Party. That, I think, is his longest
I think role. It is his longest cameo, yeah.
Ant-Man, he is a bartender to a story that Louise is telling to Scott, in the story that Louise is telling to Scott Lang about Falcon looking for him. He is in he's a FedEx postman in Civil War, where he's like, "Excuse me, are you Tony Stank?" Which Rhodey completely loses his crap over.
Yeah. After the fact, I mean, Civil War is really, such a grim movie. For that little bit of levity, I think that's fantastic,
Doctor Strange, he's a bus rider reading Aloysius Huxley's The Doors of Perception and laughing while all this crazy stuff is going on around him. Guardians 2, he's an astronaut telling a story to the Watchers at the end of the film, and in the middle also. And then, although it's not part of the Marvel Disney universe. He appears as the bus driver in Spider-Man Homecoming. No, he's a neighbor.
He's a neighbor.
In Spider-Man Homecoming, which is a Sony production. Ragnarok, he's a servant to the Grandmaster, the guy who cuts Thor's hair.
Also noticed the first time in that film, Kim broke down and cried.
Yeah. Black Panther, he's a patron of the casino in Busan, South Africa. Infinity War, he's the driver of Peter Parker's school bus. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, he's a pedestrian whose car gets shrunk in the melee going on.
And has one of the funniest... In a movie that has a lot of funny lines, he has the best. Once his car is shrunk down to the size of a Hot Wheels car, and he just kind of shrugs and goes, well, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it. And that was... I'm sorry, the whole theater was convulsing at that one.
He's also in Venom, and will be in Avengers 4. He filmed that concurrently with Avengers 3, so that is... still a part of it.
And he's also got a cameo. Well, he had a great cameo. This actually might be... This is a kind of long one, too, in The Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, that's not part of the Marvel
It's not part of the Marvel movie universe,
we're
no.
We're going to that.
Yeah.
Over in the Sony universe, he does have a number of cameos also. Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. He plays the school librarian.
He's the librarian.
Yeah.
He's got the headphones on, and Spider-Man and the Lizard are trying to kill each other in the background. He's got these headphones
That's a
on.
hilarious cameo.
Cannot hear a thing.
Yeah.
And it's hysterical.
He's also in Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, as a guest at Peter and Gwen's graduation. He's in both Fantastic Four movies, such as they were the originals with the halfway decent cast, not the recent one, not the Miles Teller-led one. Appearing as a character that he created for the comics, Willie Lumpkin, their mailman, and he plays himself at the wedding of Stu and Reed, in
which he can't get into.
And then the Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire, he is in the Spider-Man's first battle with the Green Goblin. He pulls a girl away from the debris falling on her. He repeats his Spider-Man 1 stunt with another innocent person in Spider-Man 2, and in Spider-Man 3, he runs into Peter Parker and says, "I know you guess one person can make a difference. Enough said," which is one of his catchphrases, and it's very funny. It's one of the good parts of Spider-Man 3, which is just terrible from beginning to end.
He also appeared as himself in other things, including he appeared in Kevin Smith's Mallrats as himself.
He did a great job in Mallrats. Him and Jason Lee have an extensive scene together, and it's wicked funny. It's one of the funniest parts of that movie, because Jason Lee is just like, he doesn't realize until the last minute who it is. Yeah. So it's really funny.
In other words, Jason Lee's character is an idiot.
Well, he's a big comics fan, but he doesn't get... He's so out of it that he doesn't get it.
Yeah, so. That he's talking to Stan Lee.
And it's Jason Lee.
There are very few people...
Jason Lee, who shot his career by doing the Alvin and Chipmunks movies. Anyway.
Did the check clear? Then don't worry about it. There are very few people that I would actually get down on my knees and do the whole we're not worthy thing. Yeah. Stan Lee was one of those people.
Yeah. He's also done TV cameos in S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, most of the Netflix series, the Hulu series Runaways, and Freeform's Cloak and Dagger. And he also appeared in several of Fox's X-Men universe. He's a hot dog vendor in X-Men. He is one of Jean Grey's neighbors in X-Men The Last Stand. He is in Deadpool, although he didn't have any hand in the creation of Deadpool.
No.
He is in Deadpool as an MC working at a strip club. Also in the Deadpool commercial teaser trailer.
For Deadpool.
For Deadpool 2.
For Deadpool 2.
He's in Apocalypse, X-Men Apocalypse, plus No Good Deed, which was the short that aired before Logan. He was in as I said, the whole... teaser thing for Deadpool 2, and then also appears in graffiti art in that movie, and has had a non-speaking role in the recent Fox TV series The Gifted. That's insane.
That's not even to mention the number of voiceover work that Stan did, including narration and in and out stuff in the Spider-Man series that ran on Fox, his work in Superhero Squad. so much stuff where he did voiceover work or little bits of things that you instantly, the second you heard Stan's voice, you knew it.
He also did the Ben Affleck Daredevil and the Ang Lee Hulk, as well as the Trial of the Incredible Hulk on television.
He was a juror in a dream sequence where Bruce hulks out.
Plus a whole bunch of other stuff. And he does have an animated cameo at the very tail end of Marvel's animated smash Big Hero 6. Turns out he's Fred's dad.
Yeah. And a real superhero.
I'm like, oh man. Again, he wasn't a member of the team that created that, but he was, it's Stan Lee.
But seriously, if somebody goes...
Marvel associated, he doesn't have to be created as long as he's in it.
Seriously, somebody goes, yeah, we want Stan Lee to be in your movie. Are you going to say no? I'm sorry, come on. It's like... or if Stan Lee wants to be in your movie, are you going to say no? If you are, you shouldn't be filming movies. You actually shouldn't be out, because you're a danger to yourself and others.
He had a voice cameo in Teen Titans Go to the Movies, in which he plays himself, basically, and then realizes it's a DC movie and leaves. And then comes back. He said he just loves making cameos and does Excelsior. He will also appear in 2 more voiceover cameos. One in this coming weekend's Ralph Breaks the Internet, which doesn't surprise me because it's got a whole Marvel section, and an appearance in the Miles Morales Spider-Man cartoon, Into the Spider-Verse. Mm-hmm. So he's going to be everywhere. It's like he hasn't left, and he won't.
He hasn't left.
I mean, how long will it be before they have knowing Marvel, they'll probably get a sound-alike guy to do him for like digital CGI, like they did Peter Cushing and
but it won't be Stan.
No, it won't be. But it's it's just knowing how Disney is about making money. They're gonna want to put him in the upcoming films, and they'll figure out a way.
That
to do
became a game for us. I don't know about anybody else out there who's a Marvel movie fan, but whenever
it's always been a spotlight.
Whenever we went to a Marvel movie, it's like, hey, there's Stan. There he is.
Hi, Stan.
Hi, Stan. Hey, kids, it's Stan Lee. It's like
it's interesting that he didn't do X2.
No,
which is the most popular of the 3 X-Men movies. I don't know why, because it's the worst of them, and I'm just like, okay. I
like X-Men: The Last Stand simply because it has Beast in it.
Yeah,
not gonna lie.
Everybody else hates it.
I know, don't care. I like Beast.
He also appeared in a show you love called Superpower Beatdown, which is on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And he's done all kinds of different stuff.
Oh, whenever they had something about superheroes on TV or like a special or something like that, you always went to Stan because he was a mainstay. Mm-hmm. Stan Lee defined the word mainstay when it came to comics.
And when it came to other stuff outside of that, he worked most frequently with Kevin Smith, who is a monster comic fans.
Yeah.
And still owns his own comic store in New Jersey and continues. He appeared on a number of times on Kevin's various television shows, podcasts, movies, and everything else.
Yeah. It's really a strange thing when you think about it, that we talk about how someone lived and how someone was here and made an impact on the planet and stuff like that, and then we say, well, they're gone. And that's not accurate. Their physical body is gone. I'm not even going to get into the whole soul thing because that's getting metaphysical and we're not going to do that. But my whole thing is, and this is something I really do believe in my heart of hearts, and if it's a little too hippy-dippy Woodstock for some people, too bad. But I believe as long as there is someone that when they think of you or they think of your contribution to their lives, it makes them smile, then you're not really gone. Mm-hmm. You're never truly gone.
Yep.
And in that sense, I think it would be very fair to say that Stan Lee is well on his way to immortality.
Oh, I think he's already reached it.
Because you're going to have people our age who are introducing their kids to these heroes. And then they're going to grow up and they're going to introduce their kids to these heroes. And on and on and on and on and on down the, the road to infinity. Assuming that we don't blow ourselves up, I think that there's always going to be heroes. Mm-hmm. We as a society, I won't even say as a society, we as a species, we need heroes. And whether it's it's anything from Gilgamesh to Ulysses to Robin Hood to Spider-Man, we need heroes. And whether or not it's a hero that their adventures are told scratching on a cave wall, or they're told in an oral history, or they're in a comic book, all of that is important. Mm-hmm. All of that helped build us. Mm-hmm. It's what we do with that helps us to carry on.
Right. And
I feel like Stan is a superhero because he helped people. The thing that he helped people who were different, and they could look at somebody in one of Stan's comics and go, well, his life isn't perfect, but he gets up every day and he does his thing. That guy's, I'm not the big jock.
Never mind that he's flying around New York with webbing going from building to building.
Well, yeah, but, it's the whole idea that I'm not the big popular jock at school. I'm the little goth kid that gets picked on. But I read these comics and there's other people in here who are different, who aren't perfect, who aren't the chosen ones, but they do okay. And maybe I'll be okay too.
Right.
And for Stan to have given, Stan and the other people that do this, for them to have given those gifts to people, that's a debt we're never going to repay.
Right.
The only way we can start to repay it is by trying to be better people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Enough said.
Yeah. A couple of things real quick before we go. To the writer at the Daily Beast who decided to turn Stan's obituary into a hit piece for Jack Kirby's side of things, you don't do stuff like that when a person passes away. The Kirby thing is always going to be out there, but the reason, if I were your boss, I would have kicked you off the magazine for a week. The other thing, big Twitter kerfuffle on the day Stan passed. A lot of celebrities were posting pictures they'd taken of themselves with Stan over the years. A lot of people were saying nice things and saying what a great person he was, and it was nice to see him. Armie Hammer took exception to it and called people, making it about themselves, to which Jeffrey Dean Morgan swiftly called him an asshat for saying that. And then Armie backed down and said he should think, more clearly before he shoots off his mouth on Twitter. I'm sorry, I agree with Hammer. These celebrities who wanted to post pictures of their association with Stan, that's great. Wait 24 to 48 hours before you do it. Tweet something about how much you're going to miss him, and then come back a day or so later and say, hey, I had the great fortune of meeting Stan Lee. Here's the picture I took. It was awesome. When you're saying, goodbye to Stan Lee and you're posting a picture of yourself with the guy, I'm sorry, that to me comes off as totally crass. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan can go shove it up his butt. I'm sorry. I like the guy, but it was totally out of line to do that to Armie Hammer, who was right on the nose. And I'm not particularly a big fan of his. Mostly because he played the Winklevi, but that's right. Okay.
Well, before we just on another case of someone who can shove it up their ass, Bill Maher, who never decides to not be an asshole, decided to put up a blog post saying, quote, America is in mourning, deep, deep mourning for a man who inspired millions to, watch a movie, I guess, end quote. Also later on in the article that he wrote, he said this, quote, but then 20 years ago something happened. Adults decided they didn't have to give up kid stuffs, and so they pretended comic books were actually sophisticated literature, end quote. And, of course, had to go on to put this out there, quote, I don't think it's a huge stretch to suggest that Donald Trump could only get elected in a country that thinks comic books are important, end quote.
Can you tell Kim doesn't like Bill Maher?
Okay. As I stated on my own Twitter, I will curb the 4-letter word usage. Mm-hmm. Bill Maher has the right.
Sorry.
Bill Maher has the right, because we live in this country, to say those things. Mm-hmm. I have the right to say that I think that Bill Maher is full of beep, and should have a beep shoved up his beep without any lube. Beep. No, should go beep himself with a cactus with no lube.
Ow.
Comics have Oh my God. Oh my God. You look at a comic.
Oh boy. Kim's soapbox coming up.
You look at a comic like Mouse, which made Mouse, I believe is the way, which made the Holocaust something that people could understand who can't wrap their minds around the idea that 6 million people were murdered.
Well, it worked okay, fine, except for those, like, idiot white supremacists out there.
Yeah.
Fair enough, okay.
Stan Lee made people happy. Stan Lee gave people hope and joy and a brief moment of happiness in a world that sometimes can be pretty dark and scary and terrible. Bill Maher, it seems, only exists to make people miserable. And if Bill Maher fell into a black hole tomorrow, I don't think you'd see a lot of people going to Twitter and saying, "Oh, that's so sad." Stan Lee had a positive influence on this planet.
Millions of people.
Something Bill Maher will never, ever, ever be able to claim. Shame on you, sir. Shame on you. Nuff said, bitch.
Thank you for your contributions, Mr. Lee, and everyone that was around you that helped you get there. We will miss you. Excelsior.
Excelsior.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
All right, Kristen, I am so excited that you've decided to do a podcast with me, but what are we going to do a podcast about? There's so many other movie podcasts. We got to do something original.
Well, I'm a big fan of Disney movies. What about something like that?
That's just kid stuff. What do we want to do that for?
Did you know that The Avengers is a Disney movie? Or that Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie?
Pulp Fiction is not a Disney movie.
It's technically owned by Miramax, which is part of Disney.
We are still going to talk about the Disney animated movies, though, right?
I thought you said that was kid stuff.
Well, I've got 2 kids. I got to be a good dad and stuff.
So be sure to subscribe to the Walt Sent Me podcast, where we discuss the various subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Studios, including the animated movies.
It's available on iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find great podcasts. And I swear, it's not kid stuff.
Subject Cinema.
TC Soapbox! I just got in touch with my inner Godzilla, so it's only fair that TC unleashes his spirit animal.
Well,
so you and your Niffler go nuts.
Mine is not. What's a Niffler?
That little thing from
Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
Mine isn't quite that bad, but I got a few beefs, You guys see the new promos for a new Moo with me. Moo.
Well, you said beef.
I know.
Let me get those cows out of here. I'll be right back.
Yeah, steer them in the right direction.
Rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep them doggies rolling.
Will you let me go on?
All right.
Anyway.
If you remember that, you're old.
I've got a bone to pick with America's Got Talent, The Champions. This is a new show that's premiering for 7 weeks in January and February. It's designed to be a yearly event, and it will happen between the first half of the season and the second half of the season on The Voice. Now, the problem with this show is its title, America's Got Talent, The Champions. 50 acts are part of this show, but there aren't 50 champions here. In fact, only 15 of them are champions.
Oh, Lord, do I have to do math? Are you going to make me do math?
No, this is what I've come up with.
Oh, Lord, he is going to make me do math.
I'm not going to make you do math. Let me have my harangue, okay?
Sorry.
I'm a fan of the show. I like it. We didn't watch it this past summer because we were just too sick and it was just too much going on. But I've watched it mostly regularly since season 7 or so. And I enjoy it. And I've found a lot of great artists and become fans of a lot of people because of it. But here's the thing about AGT, the Champions. 2 of these participants, the idea is to foster challenges and competition from America's Got Talent and its numerous Got Talent franchises around the planet.
Just this planet, though.
Well, they're not out there on Jupiter.
Well, why do they call it the Miss Universe pageant then when there's only one planet involved?
I'm going to get the duct tape in a minute.
Sorry.
All right, so anyway, According to their website, which I'm sorry, I don't buy this, there are 184 different versions of America's Got Talent. Wikipedia can only find 57 of them. So I'm like, okay.
Well, there might be some out there that aren't.
Yeah, there might be.
Like, they might not have talent in the title or whatever.
So anyway, the whole thing is supposed to foster competition between the champions of the various Got Talent franchise shows around the world. That's also a fallacy. 2 of these participants, of these 50, have appeared on 6 different Got Talent franchises. 6 of them. It's not all the same 6, but 6 different franchises they've been on. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cheating. Number 2, 6 more of them have appeared on at least 2 of them. Mostly AGT and one other show, or BGT and one other show. I'm like, okay, I can get away with that. That's fine. Britain's Got Talent, which is the second. The franchises, America's Got Talent was the first. It was supposed to be the second, but a talent snafu prevented Britain's Got Talent from premiering when it was supposed to. So AGT was the first to premiere, with Britain's Got Talent following a few months later.
I hope you're taking notes, because there will be a quiz.
Britain's Got Talent is represented by 12 acts over their I think 12 seasons. They include both of the 6 franchise players, which includes Alexander Magala and Stevie Starr, better known as the Professional Regurgitator.
Really fun act, very difficult to watch.
He's funny as hell. They're on there, as well as include both of them and actual champions, Ashley and Sully, dog act that won season 6, although actually it's not the same dog act, because Ashley and Pudsey won that competition. Pudsey has since passed away, and now Sully is her dog that she works with. Attraction, which is a shadow dance group, won season 7 of BGT. Paul Potts was the very first winner. He's an opera singer, won season 1. And Lost Voice Guy, a comedian who sings really goofy stuff, who just won this season of BGT a couple of months ago. The rest of the representatives are non-winners. You see a pattern forming here. Non-winners. How can you be champion if you didn't win the show? Australia's Got Talent, which is the third of the big 3 of these shows, even though it's had more of its share problems than you want to bring up, has 1 representative, a dance crew called Justice Crew, who won season 4.
That sounds like a superhero team from the 80s.
Yeah.
Justice Crew.
It's the Justice Friends. Anyway.
We did that already.
Did we? Oh. There are winners from multiple franchises other than Britain and Australia and America. Alexander Magala, who I mentioned is one of the 6 performers, actually did win season 8 of Minuta Slavi, which is Russia's franchise.
That was really nice pronunciation, by the way.
Cristina Ramos won season 1 of Got Talent España from Spain. DDF Crew, a jump rope dance team, won Holland's Got Talent season 5. DJ Arch Jr. won season 6 of South Africa's Got Talent. I hope I get this name right, and if I don't, sir or madam, I'm so sorry. Ksenia Simova, a sand artist, I'm not sure what that means, won Ukrainia Maya Talanta, which is the Ukraine's franchise. And the Moonlight Brothers won season 4 of Das Super Talent, which is Germany's franchise.
I'm sorry, the German name of it is what?
Das Super Talent.
Okay.
What?
I don't know why, but that just sounds so stern and, like,
it's Germany.
Not super talented.
They have a stern reputation.
Yeah, it's the whole language. I'm sorry, don't yell at me. Please don't yell at me, German people. You have a beautiful country and you make great sausage. But
America is only represented by 5 champions as well. Season 1 champion Bianca Ryan. Season 8 champion Kenichi Ibina. Season 10 champion Paul Zerden, I'll get into that in a minute. Season 12 champion, Darcy Lynn Farmer. And
Yay!
Season 13 champion this past summer, Shin Lim, who I'm told was just amazing with his close-up magic. A lady I work with loves the show.
He's an up-close magician, kind of like Matt Franco kind of thing?
Yeah, a lot of that, too. Speaking of Matt Franco, the three arguably most successful acts who actually won AGT, Season 9's Matt Franco, Season 2's Terry Fader, and Season 11's Grace Vanderwall, nowhere to be seen. Only 15 of the participants, as I said, were actually winners. So that means 35 performers didn't actually win. So how can they be called champions? They can be called favorites. Perhaps America's Got Talent, The Favorites might have been a better show title, in all honesty.
Well, if they were going to be brutally honest, they could call it America's Got Talent. Well, you tried.
I know. I know.
But the participation trophy show doesn't really roll off the
participation award.
That doesn't really roll off the tongue. I am such a bitch.
And Britain's three most successful acts, none of them won. They all finished second place. Now, Susan Boyle is part of this show. She's perhaps the biggest act to come out of BGT ever. But there's no sign of Roman Park, who was a big heartthrob the year he finished second, and no sign of teen opera sensations Jonathan and Charlotte. Although they're no longer together as a duo, they're still recording separately and are still friends and could have easily come over and done something. Well, the label decided to split them up and do solo stuff. So one of them could have come over, if not both of them. Now, here's what pisses me off. Despite all its problems, and it's had problems over the seasons, AUGT, Australia's Got Talent, has produced a variety of huge viral stars, many of whom were promoted by Perez Hilton. He was a big fan of the show, and he kept promoting the people on there whenever he found something. Now, Australia has had some severe luck. It lasted 7 seasons, was canceled. What are you doing? I'm
sorry, I'm watching the sand sculpture person that won.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Holy crap! This is not what you think it is. You need to go check this out.
They were on for 7 seasons, were canceled, then they were revived 3 seasons later for one more season, and were canceled again on 2 different networks. So Australia's Got Talent hasn't had the easiest run in Australia, but they have produced some big viral stars. If you're a fan of Perez Hilton, you've no doubt heard of first season winner Bonnie Anderson, who was all of 12 years old when she won. Season 5 champion Jack Vidgen, who blew everybody away, and he is amazing. And most recent season 8 winner Fletcher Pillen, who just ripped everybody to shreds in his audition with this beautiful song he'd written for his late brother, who just died in an accident 3 months earlier. And they also don't bring up a non-winner, but a finalist, another viral sensation, improvisational keyboardist Chuka Parker. All of these people are known to fans of the Got Talent franchise around the world. None of them were invited, and even despite 3 of them were grand champions in Australia. So I'm like, okay. And then, of course, they do have a lot of great people coming back. Fan favorites coming back. My problem is, a lot of the times, the people they've pegged as fan favorites aren't really fan favorites. We got the likes of Preacher Lawson coming back. We got, I'm sorry, I just did not find that guy funny. We got,
You made that abundantly clear.
I know. We have got, what is his name? I gotta find it here. The other comic that I'm not that big of a fan of. Taylor Williamson is coming back. He was a runner-up in season 8. And we do have some really classy, Sarah and Hero. Why were Sarah and Hero asked to be on here again? I didn't like them all that well the first time they were on. I know they did well, but it's like, okay. But we do have some top-notch people. Tay-Face is back. Tay-Face is hilarious. Sons of Serendip, who are just an amazing vocal group, are back. Drew Lynch, who should have won season 10. especially after it was revealed that Paul Zerden stole his winning routine from comedian and ventriloquist Ron Lucas. Should have won season 10. Piff the Magic Dragon, who is just one of the most original performers I've ever seen. That guy is hilarious. And Stevie Starr is back, professional regurgitator, as I mentioned. And the likes of Sal Valentinetti. Now, I've never understood what people see in this guy. He is a stereotypical Italian-American young singer. He sings Italian songs in English, of course, like Dean Martin, Vic Damone.
It's a whole Rat Pack vibe.
Yeah. But the whole thing is, it's
that's
a deliberate...
why people like it.
It's a deliberate... Yeah, I know. I have a couple ladies at work think he's awesome. He's just appearing this coming week, I think, in the North End of Boston. I'm like... But it's all such an act. His singing's not an act, but the whole, uncles and grandfather and people around him that are like these really awful stereotypes that the Italian-American groups were raising hell about when he was on the first time. Okay. I don't know. I am very glad to see that Light Balance is back. Perhaps one of the most amazing dance troupes I've ever seen with the light stuff that they do. They are just amazing. And Kenichi Owachui, she went just by Kenichi, or Kechi, sorry, Kechi, is back. Kechi is an amazing singer who survived a horrific plane crash a few years ago. She was the only survivor, and it was like, her voice is sent from God. It's beautiful. And and Jackie Evanko is back. Jackie finished runner-up in season 5. It's going to be interesting. And Clairvoyance, why does the Clairvoyance need to be on here? They have a huge Vegas show. And the same with
I'm actually
Colin Cloud. He's also in Vegas and done Britain, and he's actually done a couple of different things over the years.
I'm actually a little surprised you're not I won't use the word ranting, that's not nice. That you're not being passionate about another group that you're totally in love with, and they aren't on this list, and they didn't win the year they were on.
Zero A.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's no Zero A, there's no Emil and Daryl, there's no Miguel Dakota, who the judges loved, and I gotta admit, I love his album. I wasn't fond of him when he was on the show, but I did love his album. And a number of other acts that I have just adored are not back. Lincoln Bridge is not here. Edgar Family Band.
Yeah.
The Bluegrass Rockers, I can't remember their names. A lot of great acts. And Mandy Harvey, the deaf singer, freaking amazing. And they didn't invite her back either.
No. There's some people that I would have liked to have seen come back, but
my whole point is, this should not be called America's Got Talent, the Champions, because only 15 of them are champions. If they're going to do it right, they should have called it the Favorites, or they could have brought all the Golden Buzzer winners in and done that. Sophie Dossie fits into that. She's coming back, a brilliant teenager who does these amazing acrobatic contortionist routines. It's great, but I just want to see. Number one, I want to know why these people are putting themselves into this situation again. Particularly Drew Lynch, who has openly talked on his web show about being so freaking freaked out about making the finals that it was detrimental to his relationship with his girlfriend, his health, everything else. Now, of course, he is one of the most in-demand comics in the comic circuit right now. He's freaking hilarious. And I don't know. It seems to me that America's Got Talent, the Favorites, would have been a better choice. Or even World's Got Talent, the Favorites, since they were inviting everybody in. They actually have done a clip show in Britain called Planet's Got Talent, hosted by Warwick Davis, where they've had clips of the various Got Talent franchises around the world. What do you guys think about this? It's just me. I'm bitter because no Jack Vidgen, no Fletcher Pillen from Australia's Got Talent. I'm sorry, Jack Vidgen. Why they didn't invite these two guys from Australia's Got Talent?
No, but you're going to tell me.
Because they would blow everybody out of the water.
That could be.
Jack Vidgen is just an amazing singer, and he's only 21 at this point. He won when he was 14, and he is amazing, and just like, wow. So anyway, it premieres January 7th, and I'll be there to watch it. I want to see how they're going to format it, because they're not doing a results show. I don't know what they're doing. Howie Mandel, Heidi Klum, Mel B, and Simon Cowell are back as judges. Terry Crews is hosting, and they're already finished taping it, so we already know the results, but we won't actually see them anywhere until the show starts premiering. So it'll be interesting. America's Got Talent, the champions, and why TC thinks they've really royally screwed it up.
TC Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema.
I'm going to ask you an honest question here. I want an honest answer me, okay?
Always.
You love being online. You love doing stuff on the internet. What if you went to, pulled up YouTube on the TV and went to pull up your favorite stuff, like the Star Wars stuff or the wrestling stuff or the music, and every time you clicked on it, you got a message saying that this was no longer available because of copyright infringement, and it was happening for everything on the service?
Well, the first time it happened, I think I'd be annoyed. The second time, I'd be more annoyed. By the third time, I would be raging. And by the fourth time, I would be writing a very angry email to YouTube saying, what the F is going on? Why the F are you even online if you're not going to offer any more effing videos?
What if you got a letter in the mail from somebody over, say you got a letter from a service, an email service, saying that the meme you sent around used a copyrighted picture and that you could be held liable for damages?
I would call my local news station, get on TV, start screaming how wrong this was, and pretty much start a revolution.
What if you looked up something on Wikipedia, a definition for something, and it had a list of links, and every time you clicked on those links, you got charged 10 cents?
I would not go on the internet anymore.
This is what is about to happen if you don't speak up. The European Union has suggested and is about to adopt 2 articles that, as they are written, will destroy the current internet as it is now in existence. Articles 11 and 13 are 1, copyright infringement demanding automatic upload filters for every site on the net, which is theoretically impossible, and it will destroy YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, and any video-centric network. And Article 13 is a link tax that will require the people who put links to the sites they want to send people to pay a tax for doing so. That's absurd.
This is like some kind of Kafkaesque, some kind of Kafkaesque Orwellian mishmash, and it's directed by Satan. It's a nightmare.
You need to speak up now. Not just in Europe, but the whole world is up in arms about this, and you can be a part of the solution. Go to don'twreckthe.net and find out how you can help. Don't Wreck the Net is put together by the Capio Institute, which is the organization which runs Tech Dirt, and I would like you to go over and also you start using the hashtag #SaveOurInternet, because if these are allowed to go into effect, possibly as early as mid-February to mid-April 2019, the internet as we know it will cease to exist. We won't be able to do our shows anymore. Anybody who's podcasting, rootscasting like us, that uses even a snippet of a song or even mentions something wrong could get a copyright notice and in deep trouble from the European Union. This is going to affect users, creators, publishers, and online platforms, but there is nobody it is going to hurt more than YouTube people.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to be a disaster. Not only will it be an economic disaster, not just for the creators, but for the sites themselves, but it's going to be a technical disaster, because theoretically, if these become law in the EU, the internet will not work the way it does now. Don't sit around. Get involved. Don't wreck the .net. Go over, click on the links, sign the petitions, send the letters, and speak up. Otherwise, if you don't, you may not have an opportunity ever again before too long.
TC Kirkham and Kim Brown. Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
Time to mosey on out of here for another week. We had a great deal of fun talking about the wonderful, immortal, legendary Stan Lee and my harangue about America's Got Talent, the champions. Next week, we will technically be taking the week off, the two of us. But we will be here. Next week, Subject Cinema will present our fall vacation travelogue spectacular, which, you know, for those of you who are interested, it's out there and fun to listen to. And next week, we will also bring you exclusive bloopers from the productions of Manhattan Hammerdown As It Happened and The War of the Worlds 2018. Most of these bloopers are by Eric Lyon and Cavebabble and company, but there are a few from me and Kim and Matthew and Anthony too.
And we thank them at Cavebabble for being good sports and sending them
They
along.
send them along when they make
sending them
and it's
along,
like,
yeah.
It'll be fun, and we hope you'll be there. In 2 weeks, we will be back in December. When December rolls around, as we start rolling out our year-end stuff, we have so much to catch up on. We are so behind. We have not even seen some of the more recent releases. We haven't been to see Fantastic Beasts yet. We haven't been to see Bohemian Rhapsody yet. We haven't seen mid-90s yet. These are all must-see films as far as I'm concerned before we do the Poppies and Rosies, which are coming up in just 6 short weeks. How are we ever going to watch another 900 movies in 6 weeks?
I don't know.
It's been a bad year for movies because we have all been broke or sick or whatever's been going on. But we'll do the best we can, and hopefully come January things will start over again and start really crazy, because we do know now that Slam Dance is allowing virtual coverage, and hopefully we'll be able to be accepted for that when we apply for it. And hopefully the other film festivals throughout the year will follow suit. It would be nice.
It would be.
I am going to be doing a lot more on eCinemaOne.com in the next couple of weeks. I'm trying to ramp things up into a more reliable site and more reliable coverage of things. Just watch for news there. Hopefully that'll be done. It'll also happen on eCinemaBoston. We also want you to check out all of our shows. Front Row 5 and 10, which was supposed to be back this last Thursday night. We had a nightmare commute on Thursday and did not get home till after 7 o'clock, and it was just crazy. Despite, you know, catching an Uber to try and get home quicker, what normally takes 35, 40 minutes by Uber took an hour and 40 minutes because of traffic. So, Front Row didn't get done. So, it will be back this week, I promise. And then also, my 2 shows on the week, throughout the week, Tuesday Digidex and 3 Minute Weekend. DVD releases on Tuesday and streaming releases on Tuesday and film releases on Friday, all for the U.S. market. You can check them out at our usual site at eCinemaOne.com, or you can subscribe to the 3 Minute Weekend feed on our Libsyn site. Your shows, Platinum Rose's Garden.
Rose's Garden, my Supernatural podcast, and Ring Around the Rosie, my wrestling podcast, will both be up soon. You can listen to them as I go on through Supernatural Season 14 and look at what's going on in the world of wrestling. And you can also take a listen to the other shows that are part of our family, including Cavebabble with the aforementioned Lion family. And also, if you'd like to check out...
That's cavebabble.com.
Yep, a great YouTube channel. You can check out Aunt B's Nerd Grotto with our buddy Anthony Lamberti, who does some great work over there.
And that's at comicgrotto.com. And Catastrophe Vortex will be coming soon again. I'm still working on it, trying to get it into my schedule. And we have 3 new shows coming soon exclusively for Patreon supporters, which means if you don't support us, you're not going to get them. Those will be our review show, review, our topical show, Freeze Frame, and Kim's new Kaiju show, Kim's Corner, Kaiju Corner, Kim's Kaiju Corner. I like that.
Yeah,
and those will all be available exclusively on Patreon, so you're going to need to be a patron in order to get them. And in order to do that, you got to come over to patreon.com/PNRNetworks and hook up with us. Bless you.
Sorry.
$2 or above for any, help out a lot. Shows will be available at the $5 level or above, and we definitely need your support. If you're not there to support us, we can't afford festivals, we can't afford new equipment, we can't afford anything other than just sitting around rambling like we have been the last couple of weeks. So please come on board and support us at patreon.com/PNRNetworks.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, I think that ought to do it.
Let's tootsie out of here. For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in blue.
And once again, I think we should say a great big Excelsior.
Excelsior!
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2018 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.